When it comes to time travel, I am pretty steadfast, and then it is not an easy subject to work with. Time travel is horrific, in storytelling at least. In reality, it is a figment of our imaginations, a mean to cope with what has come and how things could be different for us. I am not fond of time travel, but I do adore a good time travel story. Predestination, The Butterfly Effect, and my personal favorite of the bunch, Project Almanac. All these showcase how terrible time travel is. Chronos: The New Dawn is no different. It is once again a cautionary tale. Cronos does so much right with the subject matter, yet it still manages to really screw up on some more of the basic stuff. So let's get into it. As the story goes, we start the game in a capsule, and we are giving what is effectively the Blade Runner 2049 baseline test.
Conflict will always be found in society. Conflict.
Conflict.
Eternity means the infinite time that never ends. Eternity.
Eternity.
Dark.
Dark.
Trial completed.
Cells.
Have you ever been in an institution? Cells.
Cells.
Do they keep you in a cell? Cells.
Cells.
When you're not performing your duties, do they keep you in a little box? Cells.
Cells.
Interlinked.
Interlinked.
What's it like to hold the hand of someone you love? Interlinked.
Interlinked.
Do they teach you how to feel finger to finger? Interlinked.
Interlinked.
Do you long for having your heart interlinked? Interlinked.
Interlinked.
And here we learn a few things. 1, we are the traveler. 2, we are tasked with finishing our predecessor's job and the vocation. 3, we are a part of or we work for the collective. And then we head out and begin looking for our predecessor. Such is our calling. Along the way, the player is introduced to the orphans, humans who have not changed but have not fused with the larger collective.
The predecessor. ND3500 reached. The anchor is intact. Well done. Accessing predecessor's travel log. Attempting data salvage. Target seeded. The predecessor was on a search for a target called Edvard Wisniewski. Calculating coordinates. Confirmed dive location in D3. The nearby housing project. You never reached him. I will carry on where you left off. The location continues.
We find the predecessor and we take on their objective. We head to a dive point at the nearby apartment complex to find a man named Edward Wisniewski. I think I'm saying that right. I am not Polish. My bad, y'all. We fight our way to the rift, and we jump in, and it throws us back into the 1980s, in Poland specifically, before the outbreak took over the country. Now, in our hunt for Edward, we learn that the apartment manager confiscated the key to a bunker, which was Edward's last known location. And then we enter a basement of a neighboring apartment complex and find the manager and the key in a newly formed nest of changed. Now, I call them changed here because, and we'll get into it more later, but I'm not sure if at this point they would technically be considered orphans at the moment, if I'm being perfectly honest. So when we're in the 1980s, we're going to refer to them as the changed, not the orphans. But when we're in present day, where the game is largely whatever, fucking time travel, where we go to the time where the traveler is from, we will refer to them as orphans, because that is when they are technically orphaned. They're not orphaned yet in the 1980s because they have not become the collective yet. You feel what I'm putting down? Anyway, moving on. I don't want to linger on this. So we escape the basement and we make our way to the bunker, where we briefly meet Angela, whose afflicted mother stopped us in the hall right after the drop in the apartment complex.
Edward, did you get the... Ah! Stay away! Stay away from me!
Compose yourself.
Please don't hurt me!
I did not come for you.
What are you? What do you want?
Edward Wisniewski. Where is he? Is he keeping you here?
And then we are confronted by Edward, who rants about how he was right the whole time. And then we proceed to rip the consciousness and probably his soul right from his body.
Government said, didn't they? This is some kind of experiment, right?
This is Cronos. Preserving.
And then we return to the terminal, which is basically a computer where we're supposed to shove the consciousness into, and it beams it up to the collective. And coincidentally, the terminal is located in a train station. It's pretty apt. It's, you know, it being like a crossroads between like places. I see what they're putting down. I get it. Anyway. So we attempt to upload his essence to the collective, where we learn from Edward that the outbreak started in the steelworks just outside of town. Edward, in this conversation, also nearly manages to convince the traveler that the predecessor had started the outbreak. Now, after this conversation, something goes wrong inside of the terminal, and we are straight ripped from it, and we wake up in a nearby room. Now, this room is cool. Because any cat you have interacted with up to this point is now housed in this room. And it's like a small little sanctuary. No matter what's happening out there in this room, it's always cat haven. And any cat you find from here on out, they go to this room. And they hang out and they meow and they just meow. And you can pet them. You can pet the cats. That's like the best part. Not of the game, just like the best part of the cats being here is that you can also pet the cats. We all love petting the cats. Anyway, get out there, soldier, and save some cats. They also drop really useful items, so it's super worth looking out for them and listening. You'll hear them meow, you hear meow, and there's a cat nearby. Obviously, if you hear a meow, go find the meow. If you hear the meow, go to it. Go get the cat. When we leave the room, we are introduced to the warden, who is an ex-traveler who effectively just, at this point, does maintenance on the traveler tech to make sure everything is in order for future travelers. He tells us something's wrong with the machine and that we should continue doing our calling while he does the necessary repairs. So we make a plan to head to the steelworks with our new target, Arthur Barrica. Arthur Barrica. Fucking Poles, man. God damn. So, now that we've had our first interaction with someone, I noticed a lot in this little interaction on my first run. And I think that this is testament to the kind of storytelling that Bloober has been cultivating and perfecting for the past decade. I felt from the first interaction with the warden the hesitation and longing he had towards our traveler. Though at the time, I did not understand what it was, but it was clear as the sun in a cloudless sky. He wanted so desperately to tell us something, to show us something. His body language and tone of voice were telling a story that we, the player, and the traveler are just not ready for. It was really something else. And
you almost fried there. Good thing I was around. Now, how are you holding up?
I have not suffered any serious damage. I am fit to proceed with my purpose.
Your purpose? I see.
Who are you?
The Warden. The work of the Travelers is eternal. But the tools that serve us are just crude mutter. And so, the Collective entrusted some of us with a task to keep watch over them.
So you fix things?
I take care of them. Well, at least I did. Before something stopped the Travelers' awakenings. Stopped the vocation. It's been an awfully long time since someone tried to use it. And to be brutally honest, I didn't think the Collective would send anyone else.
Can you repair it?
Do you want me to?
Yes. Something is blocking the Ascendance sequence. The vocation must go on. I need to do my part.
Ah, yes. That's understandable. Have no fear. The essence you collected is secured. It is the terminal that must be restored to its former glory. I'll get it up and running. Somehow. That's what I'm here for. Yes. You just go on. Follow your purpose. Gather the other essences. It's one of the last remaining. Better keep it safe.
Calculating coordinates for the next extraction target, Artur Barika. Confirmed dive location in A11.
The steel works.
By this point, I started theorizing a lot. My first guess was we're in a time loop, and he remembers. Spoilers, I'm partially right. So we arrive outside of the steelworks, and it is a shit show. Orphans are everywhere outside, and it is very indicative of the situation inside. Now, once we get inside, we fight wave after wave of orphans, and we find other traveler artifacts, and we eventually find our way to the top of the steelworks where the rift is located, and make our way back to 1980s Poland to find Artur. Now, we arrive right as the outbreak has tipped into a full-on fight for humanity. The guards here are in a full-scale war against the change at this point, and it is very clear that humanity never stood a chance. Near our drop point, we learn that the scientist guys working on AI never thought to try Monster Energy and Cocatry.
I guess the scientist guys are working on AI, never gave cocaine or Monster Energy a try.
Rest in peace till real, but no, seriously. But seriously though, near our drop point, we learned that the scientists working here were working to slow the infection and had managed to capture another traveler. And through their research on the traveler, they learned that the traveler, that's not our traveler, the other traveler, is perfect. Never touched by disease, perfect physiology, never sick, never anything. It's very important, but there's nothing we can do with that for now. As we race to find Artur, we are formally introduced to Dr. Weronika Kaminsky, who by this point has been mentioned countless times on our journey, and we have heard her voice several times, and she's played a role in the lives of now 2 of our targets. She reveals she is in direct contact with Artur and bails on our traveler. And on our way to capture Artur, we learn that he and his brother, Gabriel Barika, had become estranged in their last days. Gabriel tried to shield Artur from the consequences of his constant drinking, and Arthur resented him for that. Whereas Artur wanted Gabriel to help him take care of their mother, but Gabriel was always too busy with work. So, after defeating a behemoth, we make our way to the office where Artur is. We enter the room and we see Gabriel is midway through the change. We learn also that Gabriel had come in contact with the captured traveler. We are now given the choice to abduct and save Artur or save Gabriel. Now, I chose to save Gabriel not just to appease Artur, but because he had seen Traveler. Artur reluctantly agreed, and we remove Gabriel's essence. And again, Gabriel had seen and communicated with the other traveler at this point, and it kind of seemed a little important to me. They captured a traveler, and considering the resilience and determination of our traveler, I surmised that the predecessor either surrendered or was defeated. And I don't think human arms are much of a threat after watching this.
He came back!
Artur Barika.
You brought that on us, you fuck!
So we return to the terminal, and we can hear piano being played in the distance, and we find that the warden has learned how to play the humans' music, and he has also built a shrine to preserve the idea of humanity through the celebration of their arts and knickknacks. During this interaction, when our traveler mentions we are not designed the same, we once again come back to body language and tone, and we can see immediately at the drop of that line, the warden is incensed.
Listen. Unfortunately, the whole thing was not preserved. So I dare to fill in the gaps with my own invention. Don't you think it catches the ear?
It is nice. But you are wasting time.
Wasting. To waste something you barely have. Isn't it something grand? When can you value the time you've been given the most, if not here and now? When your time is linear and finite, its entire concept may differ from the one we've been taught. This is what made them superior in a way.
I don't think we were designed the same way.
Designed. Sadly, I'm struck with a similar impression.
You really got affected by them.
Too late, I did.
Too late for what?
To do something about all that. But you still have a chance.
Not without the terminal.
I've switched it off.
What?
Now, why would this infuriate him if we are indeed from the same organization, on the same mission? All through this scene, you can hear the warden is clearly trying to reach out to the traveler, trying to suss something out of us, something that may be buried or forgotten. And I'm not sure what it is yet, but then...
Would you kindly go to the switchgear? The upper floor. You need to find a restaurant there. Too fancy for my tastes.
And then it hits me. The traveler's been brainwashed. We get a taste of that at the beginning when we're undergoing the baseline tests, right at the very beginning of the game. And then the warden, casually just drops, "Would you kindly?" in the most condescending tone. Up to this point, interactions between the warden and the traveler had been cordial and kind of warm. But he is clearly pissed about the "we are not designed the same" line. The traveler is saying that really triggered something deep down inside of him. And we don't know what it is yet. We don't know why. We're going to find out. We're going to get to the bottom of it. So we set off to turn the machine back on, and we ran to the terminal and talked to Gabriel, who informs us of Dr. Zibbert. Gabriel then pushes us out of the machine, and we set out for the hospital. Now, before we leave, we can have a conversation with the warden, where he reveals that the collective, the organization they work for, is born from the change, and that the orphans are those who were unable to join the collective, hence the name.
I knew that the change affected all people, but I find it hard to believe that so many of them were unable to join.
Well, although the change seems cruel and painful, it is what led to the collective origin in the finale. Like a hideous cocoon from which the new face of the human race blossomed. But those who never managed to come together in time.
They became orphans.
Yes, the orphans. Multi-organisms desperately roaming the barren lands in search of those with whom they could merge. Howling with longing, they caricaturely try to imitate the great union accomplished by those who were more fortunate. Those who caught on to the train of evolution. The train to eternity.
Do they Do they still possess essences?
No. Not in a form where it could still be salvaged. They are purely physical beings. Listless, filled only with grief, loneliness, and longing.
The opposite of the collective.
That's what reason tells us. Therefore, they should be avoided. But still, it seems to me that one should also have pity for them.
There's a reason we call them orphans.
Indeed.
So on our journey to the hospital, we managed to end up in the apartment of the Batikas, which I found to be very curious, considering, like, what are the odds that the pathway through leads us right to the Batikas' apartment? Like, what the hell? So we get to the hospital and we immediately enter through the rift, and we arrive, in the 1980s, once again, at the hospital before it had completely become overrun. And we managed to run into Veronica again, who is currently stuck in an elevator. She helps us put together some chemicals to eradicate the biomass that has overrun the hospital. Now, while we're here, we also experience what I believe was a one-off temporal anomaly, where we're thrown back to the future and forced to fight a wave of orphans in present day, only to be sent right back to the 1980s, which is kind of weird, and I don't know why it happened. I have not figured out yet. Oh, also, this cool Silent Hill 2 Easter egg, which it's kind of funny that it's in a hospital, you know what I'm saying? Kind of neat. I like that, it's clever. So after collecting the chemicals and eradicating the biomass, we head down to Veronica, who has already fled deeper into the hospital. Obviously we pursue, and we find her after defeating yet another behemoth. And we discover Zibert has assimilated with the rest of the patients that were hiding in the basement of the hospital. Veronica reveals that the predecessor she met was the Pathfinder and the first traveler. Veronica was his target, but he chose not to extract her essence. So we then extract Zibert, or at least we think we do, and we make our return to the terminal. So as we're making our way back, we are assaulted with the thoughts of many. The many who had fused together with Zibert. But in the chatter, we managed to hear a conversation Zibert had with someone who tried to help him find a hiding spot for the Pathfinder from the government. And we get flashes of Veronica's memories, who, once again, very important, was not assimilated. So we get to the warden, who we collapse in front of, but not before we reveal that the traveler which we were hunting is the Pathfinder, which you could see clearly concerned the warden. We wake up and we learn that the essences that we have been collecting have fused with our very being. Very, very similar to the change. The doctors earlier in the game mentioned that if you try to separate two chains who have fused together, it's impossible to determine where one begins and one ends, both mentally and physically. It's very interesting. So we then enter the terminal to go speak with Dr. Zibert, only to be met with Angela, the woman we met in the bunker with Edward. And we managed, after calming Angela, we managed to talk to Dr. Zibert, who informs us that the Pathfinder can be found at the Abbey, which was currently being run by Mother Eliza Zibert. And we also learned that Angela had a daughter, which had me thinking, could Angela be her mother? Nope. No, she could not. No, she was not either. I don't know what the deal is with Angela's baby. I think it's just a thing that happened, and she's like, I miss my baby. Please help my baby's over there. Please help my baby. And I think it's really just like the extent of that. I couldn't find anything related to Angela's baby while I was at the Abbey. Anyway, moving on. So we lock in the quarters for Eliza, and we head to the Abbey. And on our way out, we discuss with the warden the role of a Pathfinder, and we learn, how they lay the path for all those who come after, and use the most powerful tools the collective has to offer in order to literally rip holes in reality, allowing them to travel back and forth in time. So those rifts that we've been jumping in and out of, those were left there by the Pathfinder for us to utilize in our time. We also discussed Veronica, and the Warden seems keenly interested in this conversation, and what basically felt like him asking us if we thought Veronica liked the Warden or the Pathfinder. We also discussed Veronica, and the Warden seems keenly interested in this conversation, and what basically felt like him asking us, do you think Veronica likes the Pathfinder? Which was very curious. I was very interested in that line of curiosity. So we dive deeper into the train station and discover yet another traveler, but this one is really interesting. This is my favorite one that I found. He had taken the essence of a child, and that child managed to completely override the predecessor's consciousness. Now, the kid was pretty giddy about all this and went on a killing spree, killing monsters with his uber powerful weapon, playing with a friend. And one day the friend had disappeared, and he grew miserable and lonely and ended up killing his physical form. At least that's what I think happened, because you find him, he's missing a head next to his gun. Either way, unfortunately for him, his essence remained in the predecessor's phylactery, only to be picked up by the traveler. And then you take him in, and he immediately tells you, I'm going to take over again, and I'm going to get back to playing with my friend. And it's kind of funny. It's kind of cute. He's a little brat, and I loved him. I loved him for the short while that I had him in my phylactery. Anyway, we get to the Abbey, and we are immediately assaulted by a voice we have never heard. Someone not in our phylactery at all.
That voice, it is not from within. It's not the essences.
As soon as we trudge along and get into the Abbey, she manages to tell us many things, some of which are seemingly insignificant, and most of which is very emotionally manipulative.
I know one to me. I know why you awakened again from their endless sleep. The slumber of vacant fever.
At least it felt that way. So after some trial and tribulation, we make it into the Abbey, and we find that Mother Eliza has managed to mostly keep her mind and form a new congregation using the changed. Eliza's will was so strong, she was able to form her own colony using the parishioners and those who sought help. Inevitably, we defeat her, and she somehow manages to sense that we have Zibbert in our phylactery and apologizes to him and submits herself to God, as if she didn't just believe that she were a god of sorts. Real funny shit, in my opinion. It's always the ones you most expect. So now we have the body of the Pathfinder, and as he has long since passed, and we discover that the Pathfinder and the Warden have the same designation, ND-F077.
What? The Warden? Did he know?
After this revelation, we head back to confront the Pathfinder, fighting through waves of change on the way back while carrying the body. We arrive back at the terminal to see that it had been overrun with orphans, and the Warden is nowhere to be seen. So we bring the Pathfinder's body to the Warden's room, and on the way we find a note where the Warden discusses salvaging unused and sleeping travelers for parts to keep himself alive, since he had been there for so damn long. With the body, we managed to open a locked door in the facility and find a door with a word Lazarus emblazoned on it. So we head out to find a way to open this door, and we are hit with some more flashes of Veronica's memories.
Dark. There's only dark.
Which, again, we have never assimilated. Soon after that, we find a note from the Warden, who was shocked that the Traveler had awoken to begin with and had to keep his composure around us, which is a really nice callback to that first interaction we had, and will make sense in just a few moments, I promise you.
I encountered a variable that I had not previously anticipated in my plans. She awoke on her own. By some miracle, the Rev Capsule's Traveler launch protocol was triggered, and before I knew what was going on, she was already sitting there, connected to the terminal. I know I promised myself that I couldn't intervene anymore, but if I didn't get her out of there, she would fry. Why doesn't she remember anything? I have to wait. I have to keep my distance. I have to keep quiet.
So we find a way to power that door, and, well...
Did you know that you were the Pathfinder?
Trial number 320. Essence implementation successful. Lazarus protocol successful. Traveler NG-3576 operational.
Essence implementation. It's...
You.
when I thought we were actually beginning to accomplish something. Just when you were starting to be complete. You have ruined everything, you monster.
Monster? It's you who made me this. Why? Why did you make me like this?
Because she would never give up.
What?
She would try to save humanity at all costs. And so, you were to be what is left of it. Because her essence, no, her soul, would have lived on in you.
You dare to call this living? I don't even know who I am!
You are not her.
And the location? Was it all a lie?
You and your vocation. Did you ever really think you were saving any of them? I just needed something to replace the damage in her memory matrix. So I did it with a traveler's behavioral core and I filled the gaps with what I once was. I knew she would change, yes, but I still thought she'd stay herself. Oh, how wrong I was. Instead, I was left with you. The very thing I once refused to be.
Why? Why didn't you tell me who I am? Who I once was?
I thought I was giving you the most human of gifts. I imagined you would wake up without what bound you in the past. That you would be a new person in this new future, this new chapter, and you would make it your own, that you would be free. And instead, you chose to serve. But you do serve well. And so I still have a chance to start all over. And this time, I will get everything right. Things.
So we were Veronica the whole time, and that's why the warden was weird, and that's why the warden was trying to figure some shit out. And yeah, we were Veronica the whole time. But we were built with the Traveler's behavioral core, which caused us to function more as a member of the collective than a human. But despite all, across our journey, we can clearly see that our Traveler was finding her humanity. Each interaction with a human brought her closer to herself, but the warden was not satisfied with that. He wanted Veronica as she was, but he had no clue he was asking for far too much. We managed to get to Veronica and warn her about the Pathfinder and confront him and get thrown into the most intense boss fight in the game. This son of a bitch has 4 fucking phases. 4. What is this, fucking Returnal? Like, serious, Jesus Christ, these 4 fucking phases. I've never fought outside of like some hyper specific games a boss with 4 phases. 3, yeah. 2? Oh yeah, for sure. 4? No, come on. So obviously we defeat him, and he pleads for another chance to make it right, and Veronica pleads her case for him as well.
Forgive me.
Stop! Please!
Believe me, it's better for this to end now. I told you, what he's doing here is not going to save humanity.
It's fine.
What?
Maybe not now. Maybe not in this time. But there are possibilities. There have to be.
How are you so sure?
I know you've been through a lot. And I believe you when you say who you are. But I also believe that you used to be me. And I don't want to give up now. Not when he came back. Not when we can try again.
He is not who you remember.
He is someone who wants to help me. He is a friend.
He is poisoned.
Veronica. Please. I want to have a future. Whatever it may be.
No. You are going to suffer. That is your future.
But without it, we don't even have a flicker of hope. Please. I want this.
And in the end, we are given 2 options on the first run and a 3rd option on New Game Plus, but we won't be discussing that here. I choose to let Veronica make her own decision, and the Pathfinder and her return to her time.
Thank you.
let you go like this. This is the only way now. Please, you need to understand. I can fix this.
Upon his return, the Pathfinder's suit is damaged critically, and he loses consciousness. His onboard PC reboots a version of him that remembers nothing that happened before our traveler woke. He wakes just in time to see that Veronica has become infected, and he pulls her essence from her body, and the cycle begins again. In the other ending, we kill him and send her back on her own, and she ends up at Edward's apartment, infected yet still. So the warden, who is the Pathfinder, has been running on a loop an undetermined amount of time. Granted, in a loop, time is immaterial, but whatever. He injected a traveler's body with the essence of Veronica, who was woken up by the collective and sent on a mission to remember who she is and put a stop to the loop by killing the warden. It's pretty rad. The loop is only truly broken in New Game Plus, where Veronica and the Traveler go back together and start anew. And for a while there, I really thought the game was about how the Travelers were all brainwashed humans, and this particular one was going to find her humanity and break her conditioning. But this shit's fucking intense, dude. Like, what are you supposed to do if you find out you're a broken copy of someone else? It is no surprise that the Traveler had a crisis of identity when she discovered Veronica's body, corpse, whatever, in Project Lazarus. Now, the story itself is a fantastic experience, and I think it is one of the best original stories told in the genre right now. It is a real triumph. This is the kind of storytelling that Bloober has been doing since their very first game, and in my opinion, this is their best work since Observer. So, let's talk about gameplay, and then we'll talk about performance. In my opinion, this is what we all thought Callisto Protocol was going to be. The gameplay was fantastic mostly, and the movement was so chunky, which is to be expected from a heavy-ass diving suit. It's slower than Dead Space, but faster than Callisto, but as smooth as both of them. Now, the combat's pretty damn cool too. My only issue is weapon charging. There should be an alt fire, not just a charge. Some guns, the standard shots can be effective against stuff, but from the primary pistol, anything but a charge shot is useless. So there should be alternate modes in addition to the charging. For instance, like if we're in the charge mode, the shot time, charge time is reduced, but we can only make charge shots. And because the time is reduced, it eats up 2 shots instead of 1, so it takes more ammo, but it's less time to shoot a fully charged shot. And then you go to standard mode, which is, you can fully charge it up, but each shot is only, 1, no matter if you charge it fully or fire off a non-charged shot. It would give us, if we're in a pinch and we need to kill things faster, we can have that charge ready. Whatever. I'm just spitballing here. I'm just saying that more could have been done with the weapons, and I think that was really my own. I like the charged weapons, but I think that it could have been more. Anyway, in Callisto, the guns are mostly useless, but here in Cronos, melee is mostly useless. It's really only useful as a last-ditch means to fight. Like this. I'll show you this fight. And it is also a great way to conserve ammo by destroying like explosive containers and gasoline, because you are completely immune to the explosives and the fire. So it's like you see a fire thing, you don't want to waste a shot, punch it, stomp it, whatever. It doesn't matter. The weapons themselves are cool as hell, and again reminded me a lot of Callisto. Everyone's talking about how this game is like, oh, Dead Space. It's like it's like, well, yes, the Dead Space influence is there because of Callisto, but the Callisto is like, the Callisto's in there. So in Callisto, there's like 2 or 3 gun platforms, and each of those have 2 tips that can be swapped out and used as different guns. In Cronos, similarly, you got different weapons, but they all use the same handle, but swap very similarly to the way the weapons did in Callisto, which I have always thought was very cool. I'm gonna play Callisto again. This is about to happen. And since we're talking about Callisto, the enemy design is very much heavily inspired, at least in my opinion, by the designs of the biophage. All that tentacle and wet and shit. It's awesome. But the way their physiology worked reminded me more of the way the necromorphs in Dead Space were handled, where they can fuse with one another and form the biomass that changes the environment. You know the way Convergence itself works as a whole. You know. The atmosphere of the world is also superb, and is something that Bloober has been consistently good at since day one. So expect nothing less than the highest levels of immersion here. So let's talk about performance now. Performance is where I have all the mean things to say. To preface, I am running an AMD build, a Ryzen 7 5700X, 64 gig RAM, clocked at 3600 megahertz, paired with an ASRock Steel Legend OC 7800 XT. I run all of my games off of a Samsung NVMe solid state drive. My PC is no slouch, and I have zero issue running anything for the most part in 1440p between medium and ultra, depending on the level of RT. Now, I ran this game in 1440p from the start to the finish. And as far as graphical settings go, that is why we're here talking about performance. Normally I don't talk about performance, but we gotta talk about performance, because it's just getting out of hand. It is no secret, I am very, very open about this. I abhor the Unreal Engine, and I think Cronos is a prime example as to why I abhor the Unreal Engine. Now, not all Unreal Engines are the same. Unreal 5. Unreal 5 is a real criminal right now. So, I had to change my graphical settings nearly twice every chapter. I was often running the game like straight high, no RT, with native rendering, no frame generation, and getting around 40 to 80 frames per second. You know, my lows being in the 40s and my averaging out between 70 and 80. And as often as I was running that, I was also dropping my settings down to low with FSR on ultra performance and frame gen on to scrape by to get a measly 15 frames per second. It was a fucking headache. And the shit was just so inconsistent. There were points in the game where I would know I was about to get into a fight because my frames would just suddenly drop moments before the fight commenced. And not even the update helped. Now, you could also argue that it was because, you know, I was streaming the game. But again, there were plenty of times where I was running native high settings with no RT at 80 FPS, combat and all the like. Buttery fucking smooth. So I do not think that streaming was the issue at all, as it is always taken into account for how I stream and record and set my graphical setting. Now, otherwise, I think Bloober has fully redeemed themselves with Silent Hill and this, but I think they really should have set the example for how horror games should be using Unreal 5. We shouldn't be having performance issues like this in single player games. Performance shouldn't be so inconsistent across the entire game. And from what I hear, Silent Hill F is the most optimized Unreal 5 game, and I'll believe that when I see it. I'm recording this the day after my first Silent Hill F stream. Within the first 30 minutes of playing, the game, not only did the game crash, but it took OBS and my whole stream with it. And then I played for 2 hours where the performance was just as janky as it was in Chronos: The New Dawn. And then it crashed again, taking OBS with it. I reset my PC, get everything started from scratch, and I start it. Crashes immediately as soon as I hit stream, and then I run it again for another hour or so, and then it crashes again, and I just gave up. I gave up for streaming that, and it is far less optimized than Chronos: The New Dawn. No fucking way. Maybe it's just because I run an AMD build. I don't fucking know, but I'll save it for the review. But there's no way it's the most optimized Unreal Engine game ever made. No fucking way. Get out of here. Chronos: The New Dawn, despite the performance issues, is Bloober's best game since Observer. And in my opinion, Observer is low-key one of the best narrative-driven horror games ever made. They have been working to this moment for the better part of a decade, and it's really nice to see them just knock it out of the park. The game is fantastic in spite of its flaws. The story is really well thought out, and the world building here is it's fucking immaculate. It feels like things have existed prior to the game, and that things will exist long after the game is over, which not a lot of games really it just feels like it's over with. You know, the story is over, nothing else is happening. Feels like things are still happening. Chronos is a unique blend, all of the best survival horror and action horror, with tough as nails combat and a story that will make you say, what the fuck, every time you learn something new. And it is just, it's a fantastic new and original IP, and Bloober team should be so fucking proud. Anyway, that's it. That's the video. Slosh out. Peter Specker picked another pickle bearing pussy pepper. Peter Specker picked another pickle bearing pussy pepper. Why? Me and John Jail Jr. picked another pointed finger. Me and John Jail Jr. picked another pointed finger. Why? A former cop undercover just got shot. Never recover. Former cop undercover just get shot. Never recover. Why? Funny crime with the partner Lois Lane, Jimmy Carter. Funny crime with the partner Lois Lane, Jimmy Carter. Whoa, 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 whoa.